Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope you're doing extremely well this evening. This is a watch along. I've got Portugal up there. That's weird. This is not Portugal versus Spain at all. This is France versus Spain, and I'm gonna have to change it. I don't know what is going on. Let's see if that changes it. So look, I hope we are doing extremely well this evening. Hopefully that's changed it. Yes, it has. I don't know why it didn't do that in the first place. So look, guys and girls, um, this is semi-final one, France versus Spain. Look, get in there tonight. Let me know how you're all doing in the chat. I really want to know. Look, this is a Man United fan channel, of course, in its heart. So look, I want to know everything you've seen today. You know, are you happy with Tillemans? You happy with the business that we've done so far? I'd love to know your opinions on this. And look, look, France. This is going to be an interesting game tonight. Look, if England get through, they're going to have to play one of these teams. You've got the passing ability in close spaces with Spain. You've got the power, you've got the talent, you've got the pace, you've got Mbappe for France. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game tonight. And this is one that's intriguing me. Can France get into what their third final, is it? Or is it Spain getting to the third final? Look, it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Now, look, I'm gonna look, I am in the chat. I'm just setting up an emergency broadcast just in case this doesn't work. So look, guys, please get into the chat. I want to know how we're all doing today. Let me know everything that is going on with you guys. So yeah, look, this is Watchalong. This is Spain versus France. So look, I want to know all your memories from these games over the past while I go and set up an emergency stream just in case the stream goes down. So look, Tillemans, look, give me your thoughts on Tillemans tonight. Do you think Tillemans is a good deal? Look, 30. I've had my opinions on it. 35 million pounds. I think is a very, very interesting deal to do. Look, as long as he stays fit, I don't really have a problem with it. He just has to stay fit. Do I think it is a good signing? Do I think it is a clever signing? I think only time will tell. Fias is in the house. Hello, my friend. So look, only time will tell. Only time will tell with Tillemans. Look, he's got to be available. He's got to be available. The same as Mason Mount as well. They've got to be available for these games. Otherwise, what is the point? And look, the one thing that interests me in the Tillemans situation already is this. Look, we cancelled the Edison deal because of an injury. Look, he is injured. Tillemans has got a hamstring issue, but he's passed the medical. So look, we all know our medical staff are the best in the business. Obviously not. But look, we will see. We will see tonight, and we will see for the rest of the season. So look, the other thing to mention is look, Michael Carrick wants Mason Mount to stay. Look, I can't say that I'm agreeing with him on that one. But look, managers, look, they like certain players, so it's gonna have to fall on Michael Carrick. If Michael Carrick says he wants Mount, then we've got to back him. Look, am I the biggest fan of Mason Mount? I like the player. I really, really do like the player. Addy says, "Hey, hello, my friend. I hope you're doing extremely well this evening. Um, and get in there with your comments. And look, this is the watch along for France versus Spain. It's going to be a blockbuster. You know, these are the types of games that you want to see in the World Cup. I'm doing very well, and hope you are too. I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. So look, I've set up an emergency stream. Sorry, guys, I am paying attention. I'm just setting up an emergency stream, just in case anything goes down, and we can watch it, or I can stream again. Ready to go. Ready to rock and roll, guys. We are ready to go. So look, Spain are a dangerous team. You know, France, Mbappe, you know, he wants the record which he's got. You know, I think he wants to, you know, finish the higher scorer as well. So there's everything to play for. There's absolutely every single thing to play for. So guys, please get in there. Please give me your views and opinions. Who do you think is going to win? Who do we think is going to win? Exactly. Who do we think's going to win? Between France and Spain. See, I think France. I've fancied France. I will put that in there. Who is going to win? Who is going to win? Really easy tonight. Who's going to win? France or Spain? Get in there. I think France are going to have too much power, but you can never write the Spanish off. You can never write the Spanish off. Look, they're a very, very good team. Very, very comfortable in possession. You know, I think Spain are a fantastic team. But I've always thought this. I genuinely have always said that I think France is going to win the World Cup. Whenever I've been asked, I just think France have just got too much going forward. I just think France have just got too much, too much pace, too much power, too many players that are on form. Mbappe looks like he's on fire. He genuinely looks like he wants to win this thing. I think he looks engaged. I think this team, you know, looks engaged to Amani. Kone looks like he's playing really, really well as well. So look, I think France are good. I will give you the latest team news as well, in case you don't know what the team news is for the game. Let me just get the team news up. So if you don't know, the team news, the latest team news is this. So the teams are going to be Spain beat France in the Euros. Yes, Swampy, they did. So look, this is the team. Mignon in goal, Kunde, Upamecano, Salibra, and Digne. We've got Rabiot, Tchouaméni in the middle. We've got Dembele, Elise, Barcola, and Mbappe up front. Spain, Olazabal, Bigne, Olmo, Lamine Yamal, Rodri, Ruiz, Cucurella, Laporte, Cabrasi, Porro, and Simon in goal. Look, both teams are a very, very, very good team. Very, very good teams. I would say I think France have the more devastating attack with Barcola, Dembele, Elise, Mbappe. Now, if those find their feet tonight, you know, I fear for Spain. But look, Spain are coming out. They are out. And guys, please get in there with your comments as well. I really want to know about how you feel about this match. Anything United, anything that you've seen. I do look. One of the things I will say, Spain have a better system. For me, this game will be close. I slightly fancy Spain. And Swampy, I do agree with you. I think Spain are. Sorry, I think France are going to win. I will still say this. I think pace and power, I think can beat the Spanish system. But as you say, look, Spain are just so drilled. You know, Spain are so good. They're so drilled. They do know what they're doing. But for me, I do think the pace and power of this team is going to be too much for Spain. I think the Spanish back four are going to suffer. But also, as you say, you know, Spain. Look, Spain, the only thing I will say, Spain have started slow. I think Spain have started matches quite slow. So let's see if they're going to have a quicker start today. Look, I like how Spain are a possession team. This is um artistry of Spain. They're not so much the tiki taka style now, but just that they just have this when they're fluid. You've got that, they easily keep the ball in those pockets. They're very good at moving around. That's why they don't need a striker. Ray says no matter his injury record, what a steal for 35 million, says Ray. Look, Ray, again, I know your opinion on this, Ray. Let me ask you a question, Ray. What happens if he doesn't play? All I'm going to say is what happens if he doesn't play. Look, Tillemans. Again, I don't understand why people are losing their minds over this deal. I really don't. I really don't. Look, I like the player, but look, I'm going to reserve judgment until we play the season, because look, he could be an aspired signing. Look, I don't see, Ray, how anybody, and this is what I sort of mean about the transfer window, can only really judge a transfer window at the end of the season. Now, if you're gonna judge last year's window, Shesko, Bumo, and Cunha, look, 9 out of 10. Right, fantastic. Tillemans, look, nobody knows. He will play better than Manu. He walks into the midfield. I disagree with you. I disagree with you, mate. I disagree with you. But again, look, Ray, that is your view. And you could be right. Look, Kobe Manu is playing. Kobe Manu is going to play. Um, I still reserve the judgment on his injury record, and I know you're a fan of managing an injury, and that's fine, and that's fine. Look, again, I like Tillemans. If he can stay fit all season, I think it's a great bit of business. I do, but I will say this: judgment for me is based on injury. Look, I agree with you, Ray. I think he can help Kobe Manu. Look, I do agree with you. I think he starts in this team. I don't think he replaces Kobe Manu. I think what I like about the Tillmans deal is, I'm not going to talk about the cost. I'm not going to talk about the wages because I don't believe in all that bollocks. I'm really sorry. This whole nonsense about what a really cheap deal. If he's injured for 100 days this season, then that's a shit deal, right? But let's just be positive, and let's just say we are getting a prime, because Tielemans is in his prime. Let's say we're getting a prime Tielemans, uninjured. He's going to go into this side. I still say this. I will still say that there are red flags for me. There are red flags for me, but I do like the signing. I think I think it could be a very very shrewd move. So I'm not going to pretend that I'm disappointed, because look, I never thought that we were going to get Chu and Maney. I never thought that we were going to get those sorts of signings. So Tillemans for me, look, I think it's a good piece of business. I think it's an uninspired piece of business. I'm not going to lie. I'm not inspired. Our fan base is losing his mind because we've signed Tillemans for 35. Look, is this what we've become? Have we become a club of, look, this is what not baffles me, but this is what we've become. We now are lauding and we're taking the mickey out of teams that have gone and spent £85 million on a player, £100 million on a player. Look, we've become indoctrinated by the Glazers. That's how it feels to me. It feels like we're celebrating being tight. We've paid. We've got Tillemans on a £35 million deal over 5 years. It's just It's so cheap. It's so cheap. KK says the Baleba deal's off. Again, I'm not bothered about that. Look, the deal was never like the deal that for me, a Brighton would never, ever, ever go in to lower that price down. So I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. I promise you, I will get into the chats as well. Look, I'm not bothered about the deal being off. Look, I liked him last season. I think it's probably the right thing to do. I think if Brighton are winning 75 to 80 for the player, then they can sod off. So I think I would agree with United on this deal. Again, look, Baleba had an injury last season. He didn't start too many games, and I can see. Look, I can see why he's off. I think he's a very, very good defensive player, but I do think that I think we're right to. I think we are right to move away from the deal. So let's see what you guys are saying in there. Ray's in there. Tillemans, come on, children of the fatherland. The day of glory has arrived. Courage and good luck to the French team. Happy Bastille Day. He will play. He's better than Kobe Mainu. Herbie's in the house. Hudby, let's hope Spain makes a game of this one. Look, Spain haven't been great, and I do think they will. I do think that they will make a game out of this one. So look, let's hope that they can. He's fresh off winning the Europa League. Yes, agreed. I agree with you. Slime Gaffer says Spain 4, France 4, Spain 1. Dog Knight says, put the money to one side. Would you have wanted United to bid 70 million for Tillemans if there was no clause? It's not a Man United fan's money. That's how you know if you got the right player. Look, again, I semi-agree with that. Look, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. Well, you say, Dork Knight, that it's not. You say that it's not the fans' money. I beg to disagree with you. It is fans' money because where else do Man United get their money from? So I disagree with you on that one. Look, we can agree to disagree. It is United's money. It is the fans' money. I'm sorry, it is. If it wasn't for shirt sales, if it wasn't, let me ask you a question then, right? If it's not the fans' money, then where do we get the money from? Yes, you can argue that it's sponsorship, etc. But actually, the biggest earner for this club is actually from the games, and who goes and watches the games. That who watches the games are fans. So I do disagree with you on that one. I do disagree because you're saying that it's not the fans' money. Well, it is the fans' money, and I think the fans have a lot of say in basically where the money is spent. But we don't get it. So look, that's fine. But would I have spent 70 million on Tillemans? No. 100% not. Not at 29 years old, not being injured for the majority of the season. No. France or Spain, KK? I think France, but look, could Spain need a good game here? I think France, but I do think France. Colin says this fan base weren't happy when we bought York Cohen, showing them look how that worked out for United. Dwight York, Andy Cole weren't coming off the back of an injury. Andy Cole, I disagree with Andy Cole. I disagree completely. Andy Cole was celebrated. Andy Cole was celebrated. He was a record signing. I disagree with Cole. Sheringham was one of those signings that I think fans weren't necessarily happy with. But Tillemans is not Dwight York. Tillemans is not Andy Cole. Tillemans is not Sheringham. Let's not pretend. Look, Colin, again, look, mate. I promise you, I'm not saying that your opinion is wrong. I'm just giving mine. I lived that era, as well. Look, he's not, and this for me is one of the most frustrating things. People are behaving like Tillemans. We've got this amazing world-class player. We really haven't. we've got a really good functional player. Apologies if I didn't articulate that well. I meant, would you pay 70 million with no clause for Tillemans instead of bidding 100 and pushing the boat out for a player you wanted? I meant, would you pay 70 with no clause for Tillemans? No, no, I wouldn't pay 70 for him. I just wouldn't pay it. He's not worth 70 million quid. He's 29 years old. Off the back of an injury laden season, he's not going to get any better. No, no fans, no jerseys, sales, no matchday revenue, no sponsors. Of course, it's the fans' money. Without the fans, there is no club. And exactly, Colin, I could not agree with you more. I do agree with you. So, look, guys, please get in with your comments. We don't always have to agree. I will read out your comments because, look, I think you guys are entitled to make your comments. I will read them out because, do you know what? I respect your comments. We don't have to agree on different comments, but look, this is your show. So look, we've got Spain versus France. Looks like a really equal start. I think France are going to have a difficult game here. I think they're going to have a difficult game. Spain are very good at keeping the ball. So this is with Spain passing into those gaps, and they're more than happy to pass into those gaps. I think the Spanish need to be wary of the counter attack. Look, Spain are happy keeping this ball around. Cucurella, look, Spain look really comfortable. French attack, that's really good French attack. Unlucky. I tell you what, Barcola, I really like Barcola. Liverpool bound, I've seen quite a few channels. I've seen quite a few people talking about Barcola. Look, I would love this club to be ambitious. Look, and I know we love a bargain. We're shopping in Bargain FC, right? I know we are. But look, Barcola for me, I'd love a Barcola. Dog Knight says, Colin, my point. Yeah, you two can argue that one out. Look, 6 minutes gone. You can see what that France are going to try and do. They're going to try to get down those wings. Going to try to get down those wings. Let me check whilst we're talking as well. See what is going on Twitter, or X, sorry, formerly Twitter. Look, Tillemans is done. Tillemans has signed. So if you have just joined, Tillemans is done. So look, interesting. After is an interesting one. Interesting. Interested on Kone. Very interesting one. On that one. See what comes of that one. Look, my source, I've just got to say this. Could be right on a Kone. So let's see what happens there. Shuey says, I would love Due to have instead of Barcola. I like either one of those two players. I do. I like either one of those two players. I'm not overly bothered about which one of those players that we get, to be fair. So look, 7 minutes gone. They're just poking at each other. That's a great ball. That's a good tackle. I tell you what, Rabiot. I think he's really improved. I would love to have Due than Barcola. Yes, Stewie. So this is now back with Spain. Rodri to Olmo. Give it to Yamal, Lamine Yamal. That's nice. That's not good. Good tackle. Good tackle. Oh, nice free kick here. Nice free kick for Spain. Olmo knows. what he's doing there. It's a very, very good chance for Spain. Yeah, you can't have any complaints about that. PSG are so astute now, can just create £100 million players every year is in a relaxing league. And Dalton, I think you make a very, very good point, my friend. You know, hopefully, look, hopefully at some point, we can get back to we can do something. Look, I'm not confident in this ownership. I'm not confident, but look, this is the way the game is going. We should be producing these sorts of players. The last player that we did it for was what, Cristiano, and that wasn't 100 million quid. So look, I'm hoping. Look, we've got to hope and pray that eventually this club will become a PSG. I am concerned. Um, Rabiot always looks like he's one of the best midfielders when a tournament is on. I agree with you. He does. He really does. PSG getting Yan Diamonde. Yes, Stewie, I heard that Diamonde only wants to go to PSG. Liverpool were looking at him as well, so no. I think yeah, I heard that as well. I think that came out 2 3 weeks ago now. But yeah, Diamonde looks like he's going to PSG. So look, this free kick. I think I'm a little. I'm nearly a minute behind. That can't be right, surely. That can't be right. Okay, now. Tell you what, Spain have come out. Spain have come out here. Spain have come out. Really, really bright start from Spain. This is a really, really bright start from Spain. I wonder if France going to be chasing Shadows of Night. You're a minute behind. Yeah, I am. I don't know why. I'm watching it on the. I'm watching it on Tinternet. I'm watching it on that Tinternet. And my internet is shocking. Tinternet is shocking. Absolutely shocking. I want to see if it's any better on my phone. Absolutely shocking. Absolutely rubbish. Right, this is now with France. I'm a bloody minute behind. Come on. I'm surprised Pedri didn't start. I don't know what it is with Pedri. I don't know why they don't start him. Oh, I think this is a bit more up to date, or is it behind? Oh, this is even more behind. How was it even possible? How was it even possible? Ade says hi, hello, my friends. So look, guys, get in there with your views and opinions on this game. Do you think that the referees are going to favour Argentina tomorrow? There is a conspiracy theory tomorrow that basically they want Lionel Messi to win another World Cup and kind of be the best Argentinian player of all time. Look, there's a debate on. Let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you guys a question. As we are talking about the World Cup, let's move away from Chouamani. Let's kind of move away from that. Who is better, Maradona or Messi? And look, we can argue it's a different time. But tell you what, France haven't come out really well here. This is Kunde. You're just a little behind. Platini just had a. Dork Knight said you're a little behind. Platini just had a shot on your screen. I love it. I love it. I am so far behind. Ah well. Ah well. There's not a lot that I can do about this bloody ITV. Look, I'm going to answer the question: who do I think is better, Lionel Messi or a Maradona? Um, for me personally, I think Maradona's better. Look, Lionel Messi is a genius. Lionel Messi is an absolute genius of proportions. He is. I don't think he's matched. Um, but Maradona is from an era, and I think Maradona is better. And the reason why I think he's better is because if you think about it, Maradona is from an era where diets weren't really as good as they are now. Sports science wasn't as good as it is now. You got properly kicked. If you watch the England game where he scored the hand of God, but you watch the goal that he scored, you watch those players who were trying to hack him down, trying to get him down, and he just walked through that team. Could Lionel Messi do that? Could Lionel Messi do that? And look, it is a different time, a different era. I would say it is like comparing. It is like comparing chalk and cheese, right? Um, Maradona, I think for me, is probably the best player of all time. It was just something different. Messi has done more in 21 years of absolute peak performance. And look, Stewie, I'm not gonna disagree with you. Look, I'm not going to argue with you. If you think Messi is better than Maradona, I'm not going to disagree with you because you're not wrong. For me, Maradona to do what he did in 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 the game at a time whereby at a time at a time where it was I think football was harder. um I think that I think Maradona was better for me. I just prefer that era. I just prefer the era. But look, Lionel Messi is a genius. Look, he is the best player, as you say. 21 years is absolutely ridiculous. He is a genius. I think he is an absolute legend. Probably one of the best players, if not the best player to ever play the game. But for me, Maradona for me was just I was very very lucky to see the tail end of his career. Very fortunate to watch videos and etc. of him. Just what a fantastic player. Um, I know it's cliche, but hard to compare ages. I guess Maradona and Messi are both playing against people with both diets of the time, and agree with you as well. Look, agree with you. Um, Mickey says the only diet Maradona was on was the Bolivian marching powder, and he also carried teams on his own and got the hell kicked out of him too. And that's what I was going to say. If you look at Maradona and his diet. But again, look, both amazing players. I never thought I'd see anybody as good as I never thought I would see anybody as good as a Maradona. I thought I'd never see. Stewie says, in what aspect is it Maradona better than Messi? I'm curious. I've watched countless highlights. Look, the reason why I think he's better, okay, and when I say he's better, I've got to phrase it in such a way because, look, Lionel Messi is just as good as Maradona. I'm not trying to suggest that he's not, right? I'm saying I think he's not better. I think it's who you prefer, right? So I think I'm gonna detract and say I don't think Maradona is better than a Lionel a Messi. I prefer a Maradona, and I'll tell you why I prefer a Maradona is because look, he literally carried teams by himself. If you look at a Lionel Messi, I'm not saying that Lionel Messi hasn't done things where he's carried teams, but if you look at the Barcelona team that he was in. Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, I know, and then he had Suarez and Neymar. Look, Maradona carried Argentina to a World Cup. He literally carried them. He carried him to a World Cup. He carried Napoli to a title. Look, Maradona for me, and this is why I just prefer him, is because he's from a time where they would kick the living out of you. Look, he was strong as an ox. You know, it's my type of football. It's my type of football, and I think ultimately for me, that's what I prefer. I'm gonna retract and I'm gonna apologise. I don't think Maradona is better than Lionel Messi. I should have rephrased the question. I think that I prefer a Maradona. So there's a penalty for Spain. Penalty for Spain. So let me get through some of your chats. There is a penalty for Spain. The rules have changed. The pitch has changed. It's hard to compare. And look, the truth. I'm not going to disagree with you either. Can't believe Spurs got Tonali. Well, look, Spurs. They have penalty. In what aspect? And yeah, I've done that one. Another reason I don't like comparing is England. In England, Rush scored so many goals in the world and back passes, but record would look poor next to Haaland, where it's attack. And again, look, you guys are making good points. You know, it is true, but I think for me, I think because I've watched them both play, I understand. And again, I'm not saying I'm not saying that that Maradona is better than Messi. I just prefer Maradona. I was trying. No. Please do, because I'm a minute behind. I'm literally a minute behind. So please do, please let me know, because I'm a minute behind and it is doing my head in. So please do. Please let me know. No one could get the ball off him. He had glue in his shoes and could pick a pass. Ray says United fans are born with silver spoons. They expect the best. They expect the best, the biggest, which is fair enough, but the biggest name and the best ain't always the answer. Now, Ray, I think you make a good point. But let me tell you a different version, right? And look, you have alluded to it there, right? Is this: we are united, Ray, right? I demand we win the league every single season, right? Not because I'm stupid, but because I demand we win the league every single season. We have to have the best of the best. Now, look, I don't 1-0 to Spain. I don't necessarily believe that you've got to pay hundreds of millions of pounds to get the best players, right? I would agree with you on that, but I don't agree with we're born with silver spoons. Why shouldn't we expect the best? You know, look, we had Charlton, Best, Law, and then we had Wayne Rooney, we had Giggsy, Scholes, Beckham, Parker, Kanchelskis, Schmeichel, Roy Keane. Why shouldn't we expect why shouldn't we expect the best, Ray? Look, I'm just saying this. Like, why shouldn't we expect the best? So, Ray, look, I'm going to ask you this question, and this is what is baffling me now about this fan base. When did this fan base become obsessed with bargains? Can somebody tell me why are we celebrating a bargain? Look, Tillemans, I would probably say, would be the sort of deal that Fergie would do. I would say that, okay? But to say that we shouldn't be expecting the best is always the answer, right? I disagree with you. The best is always the answer. What are we? Like Sander Berge. Should we be signing a Sander Berge? Like, how is the best not the answer? If you look at the history of this club, right? Are you telling me, right, that there's a coincidence? Are you telling me that there's a coincidence that we had Schmeichel, Pallister, Bruce Sharp, Inch, Hughes, McClare, Keane, Cantona. Then we brought in Andy Cole, Dwight York, Rooney, Cristiano. We've got to demand the best. And the Ray, your opinion scares me a bit. I'm not saying your opinion's wrong, but your opinion scares me because the moment we start thinking we shouldn't have the best players, I don't understand why this season we are behaving like we're not spending any money. Look, I almost feel like the Glazers have got into this and Ineos have got into this fan base's head this season about not spending the money. Ineos and the Glazers, let's be clear on this because we have run the numbers, right? The reason why this club is having to be prudent this season has got nothing to do with this club not wanting to pay big wages anymore. It's got nothing to do with this club being shrewd and smart. We don't have money, Ray. We don't have any money. We've done the accounts on this channel. We've run through the accounts. We've run through UEFA squad cap. Look, Ray, and this is not aimed at Ray. I'm sick and tired of the last couple of days of this fan base celebrating a bargain like we're what are we? Are we Burnley? So look, I don't mind the odd bargain. I'm not saying Tillemans is not a good deal. I'm not saying that Tillemans is not a good player. I'm not saying that he's not a good deal. But it scares me the fact that now what I thought would happen to this fan base is that we're now focused on these bargain deals. Look, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. But look, I don't. I'm not buying into it. I'm not buying into it. Greetings, JB. Just come on. How has the match been so far? It's been Spain. I think Spain have been the better side. I do. We need to see more of Yamal in this game. He's had a bad World Cup. I think he's been injured, to be fair. Messi carried Argentina to a World Cup and 2 Copa America titles plus 5 Copa America finals. Maradona didn't win the Copa America. Maradona is in incredible. Splitting hairs. Agree with you. Look, agree with you, Stewie. We are splitting hairs. I am splitting hairs. We are splitting hairs, and I'm not even going to look, Stewie. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that I do prefer. I do prefer. I do prefer a Maradona. I do. Sean says goal. Messi always had great players around him. Simon says we want to exercise the ghost of 40 years at long last, go into the final. For only the second time in my lifetime. One point we had York, Cole, Sheringham, and Solskjaer. Ferguson would have got Tillemans 3 years ago when he was free. Apparently, Shearer, with inflation, cost 196 million to Newcastle, and United were willing to match that. You should always just want the best or right fit. Look, I'm not saying. I'm not saying here, look, I don't prescribe to this. You've got to go out and you've got to go and sign, you've got to go and sign players of 100, okay? I don't necessarily agree with that, but you do have to have the best players. Look, it is for me, it is as simple as that. Look, you don't win anything by buying cheap. And look, we're going to see this season, aren't we? Look, we're going to see this season, okay? We're going to see this season. We've bought cheap, okay? I predicted it on this channel, okay? And let's see what happens this season. Let's see, because I almost feel like we have a reset every single season. So let's look. I don't prescribe to buying cheap. I don't think we need to go and spend £500 million. You look at what Liverpool did. It doesn't work. You've got to be smart. You've got to have elite players. So let me give you an example. Let me give you an example how I would have done this season, right? Knowing the budget that I thought that we had, let's just say we had 220, okay? And let's just say prices were sort of a normal price. What I would have done I would have got Chu and Maney for say 75 to 80 million pounds. I would have gone and got him, and then supplement it, and then you supplement it with a Santos. You supplement it with a Tillemans, right? So you can at that point you've got Kobe Mainu, you've got Tillemans, you've got a Santos, Chu, and Maney. If somebody tells me now we will go and get Chu and Maney, then fantastic. Then look, that for me is a bit better, right? Then what you then go and do is, you go, Lewis Hall, 70 million, okay? I think that's very, very expensive. Again, I still don't prescribe to fees, but look, let's just talk about fees, right? Um, Truffet. I would then go for a Truffet. Maybe he's 45 to 50. I would then go and do that deal. You don't always need to go and spend 70 million pounds on a left back, and then you would go and look at a winger, right? You could go and get a Somerville 45 to 50 million, or I'm sure there are others, right? A striker. Maybe you can go and get a Mateta. Maybe you can go and get a striker of that ilk. We need to build a squad. So look, I will say this: if Santos and Tillemans enables us to go and get, these are the rumours currently, enables us to go and get a Lewis Hall, enables us to go and get a Truffet, enables us to go and get a striker. I don't mind these deals, but you've got to understand that in no way, shape, or form, if you buy cheap, I don't think anybody has ever won a league other than Leicester City by buying cheap. So look, this is going to be a season where I'm open this season. Look, I'm comfortable. I've been comfortable with this for quite some time because, as I say, I know the numbers. We know the numbers on this channel, and I've been quite chill. Look, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Look, we don't have control. No, I will pass my opinion on to these players, but I will support these players. I will support Tillemans. I hope Tillemans is the player he was at the back end of last season. I hope Mason Mount comes back and has a fantastic season. If Xerxes still here, I hope he has a great season. If Rashford stays, I hope he has a fantastic season. So look, I am willing to, again, I'm willing, this is a different season, and let's see what these players can do. Smash the like button, yes please. City have put a bid in for Buadi, and look, I hate to make a comparison. I am going to make a comparison as well, not because I want to be right. Tillemans cannot play in the same 11 as Bruno Fernandes. Serious fan, Bart. Look, these are things that we're going to have to consider. I will say this. I believe, and I've seen people on X, and look, guys, if this is your view, I promise you, I'm not calling your opinion out. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just giving you my opinion, right? I have seen people out there saying that Tillemans 35 is look, we have done these fantastic deals, it's great to get these cheap deals, right? Look, Man City, look, Man City and Arsenal, right? Man City have bought big players. They bought Semenyo, they bought a Guehi, they bought a Rodri, they bought a Cherky. Cherky was a good price, by the way. Haaland, they spend big. Okay. Arsenal, if you look at what they've spent, what they potentially could spend this season, look, I am worried. I am worried about this season because I believe that this club is being led by money and not being led by the plan. Nobody can tell me, and I will have this debate with anybody. Tillemans is not plan A. Tillemans is plan E or F. Santos is not plan A. Santos is B, C, or D. Nobody can tell me that this plan is now based on a list that they had. This is based on, I believe this list is based on an amount of money they thought players were. And I believe that now this is about they've got a certain amount of cash and they are now being led by the budget, not by the player. So budget, I believe, comes first. Serious fan Bart says the Tillemans injury record. Does it concern me? Hell yes. Hell yes, it concerns me. Um, I think people have glazed over this. On the last but one stream I probably did a rant for about half an hour talking about this player. Now look, I like it, but the guy was out for 112 days last season. He missed 23 games. He's 29 years old. He's not going to get any fitter. He's not going to get any better. Now, look, is this a blip? And also, as well, he's currently injured. Like, he's actually factually injured. I know he passed the medical, but he didn't play against. But he didn't play against Spain. He didn't play against Spain in a quarter final because of his hamstring. Tillemans is currently injured. He's got a hamstring injury. You don't get over a hamstring that stops you from playing a game in literally a week. So we have, and again, this is one of my red flags and one of my frustrations with the hypocritical spin in this fan base of big channels and the hypocrite spin in this club. We didn't sign Edison because of an injury. Literally, Tillemans was injured a week ago, but yet we have signed him. And the reason why we signed him is because he's cheap. That's the only reason why we signed him. He's not best in class. He's not best in class. He's not the best of the best. He's not the best in class. He is the best for the money. But again, look, I don't want to be too down on the signing. Look, he's only just signed, but I'm going to tell you this now. If Tillemans is not fit for the start of the season, then I will lose my shit. Because if Mason Mount is still here and we are refusing to sell the player, if Tillemans doesn't start the season, I will lose my shit. Because I don't care if he costs 35 or a pound. If he's not fit, he is worthless. And guys, do not forget to give the video a like as well. Please, please, please give the video a like. It does help the channel out. How are Ineos any different from the Glazers? Both don't spend when you're in the Champions League. I do agree with you. Serious Fan Bart says, will Carrick last till Christmas? Now, look, I'm not gonna, I'll answer the question, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because look, I'm not gonna necessarily participate in this whole managerial outlook. I didn't do it with Eric Ten Hag. I didn't do it with an Amarin. I want Michael Carrick to last as long as he can. Look, this could go pear-shaped. This could go absolutely pear-shaped. I think Michael Carrick, whatever position he finishes, I think he stays. I don't think he gets sacked. I think he lasts the entire season. In fact, I don't think Ineos. Look, he's got a two-year deal. I think whatever happens, I don't think I don't think he leaves. Um, whether he finishes first or 10th, I don't think he gets sacked. Tillemans and Santos are good signings paired with another world class and Stewie. Yes, I would agree with you. I personally would agree with you on that one. If we get another signing, a world class player, then yes. France, what is wrong with France today? What is wrong with France? This is ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous. Spain are playing France off of the park. Spain have this knack. Spain grow into tournaments. Spain have this ability to grow into a tournament. He will go when it becomes impossible to qualify for the Champions League. I don't think he will. I don't think he will, because I think that Ineos want to save face, right? Ineos haven't got the money to go and hire another coach. I want Michael Carrick to succeed. Serious fan Bart, if you've watched the channel, which you have, um, I didn't want Michael Carrick. I've given my opinions. I think he's too young. I think he's too inexperienced. The style of football that we played at the back end of last season was crap. Um, he's got a lot to prove himself with. So, look, I am unconvinced and I remain unconvinced, but I want him to do well. I really do. I really, really do. Good signings don't need other players to make them work. Look, we are. The problem is, right? Do, do you know what I feel Tillemans is like? This is what I feel Tillemans is like, right? Is Spurs have got Fernandes, right? Spurs signed Tonali, right? Um, and we have signed a Tillemans. It's literally a bit like your neighbour has gone and bought a Porsche 911 Turbo, right? And all we can afford is a Fiesta ST. But we're going, he spent 150k like on that car. We only spent 13 grand. It's a Fiesta ST. It is. We get 70 to the gallon. He only gets 6. The servicing on that Porsche is well expensive. Ours is really, really cheap. I think the Fiesta ST for the money, it's got 180 brake horsepower. That Porsche might have 500, but look, it's so expensive. Um, it's jealousy. Look, I really believe that we are clutching at straws here. No, I think we are clutching at straws. I think we're looking at our neighbours. It's almost a bit like, and I'm going to try to word this in a way that is not insulting to people. It's almost a bit like you've got your next door neighbour, right? And your next door neighbour, and I'm using Spurs as the example here, right? You've got the example that you've got your next door neighbour. He walks around in his pants. He's got a little bit of a beer belly. He doesn't seem to do much work. He's balding. He's got really, really bad teeth. And then you don't see him for a month, and then he's got a six-pack, he's got guns, his hair's back, his teeth are immaculate, he's got a Porsche, and you can't understand what's happened. You can't understand why he's got this cash. And that's what it's a bit like for me with Spurs. We're looking at Spurs. Spurs have spent 180 million pounds, and we're going, yeah, but we've got Tillemans. We've spent 35 on Tillemans. I've seen so many people go. We bought Santos Tillemans for the same price as you bought Fernandes. You spent 180 million pounds on Fernandes. You spent 180 million pounds. You spent 100 million on Tonali. But look at us. We spent 35 on one player. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense while we're lauding this 35 million pound signing against, and all people say is against a twice relegated player. They've gone and signed. Let me tell you what Spurs have done. Right, Spurs have signed. Someone says, "Sorry, I'm off. My dad is not well. Hope to be on." Look, Simon, do not apologise, buddy. I hope your dad is okay. Go and sort that out, my friend. Go and sort out your dad. That's more important than anything else in the entire world, my friend. So look, look. Spurs have just sold a player to a Brighton for 47 million quid. It's ridiculous. Look, Spain are finding this easy. Spain are finding this really, really simple, by the way. Is Aiden Hackney a better player than Santos? It doesn't matter because Aiden Hackney's going to go to Everton. I think he's gone. Do I think Aiden Hackney's better than Santos? Nah. Spain dominating the games. Yeah, look, Simon, our thoughts are with you, my friend, and I hope your dad is okay, buddy. Um, so look, it's gonna be a very interesting season. Look, we're gonna see this season. We are. I tell you what we are. We are bargain hunt. That's what we are. We are bargain hunt. I'm expecting Dickinson, the orange guy, to come out and start talking about our bargains. We are bargain hunt FC. That is what we are. Romero leaving Spurs, exactly. Shocking JB, absolute joke. Shop of the club. I'll support the new additions, but no way anyone can say, and we had these on our targets. And Declan, look, again, like people have opinions that I agree with. People have opinions that I don't agree with. And I'll comment on both. I think it's really, really important. If I don't agree with the comment and I read it out, it's not because I'm putting the comment down. It's basically because I respect the view. Declan, I agree with Declan. Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I like Tillemans. I will back it, but I'm not pretending. I'm not having it. I'm not having that. This was the plan the whole way through. Tillemans is suddenly the A tier. He's not A tier. He's not A tier. He's just not. He's just not A tier. Look, Spain are dominating this game. France need to come out second half. I think James Garner is better than Santos. We put in a buyback clause on Garner. He's turned into a quality midfielder. I like James Garner, Stewie. I do like James Garner a lot. I wish we'd have kept him. I do like him. I don't know what the clause is. I don't know if there's a clause in Garner's contract. I mean, we sold him for cheap. I mean, we literally sold the guy for 10p. I like Garner. I would love. I think Garner right now would do a job. But again, Jimmy Garner is not. Look, we're talking like we're Everton, and that's no disrespect to them, by the way. We're talking like we're an Everton. We're talking like we're a Burnley. We are United. Why are we? Why are we talking about Aidan Hackney? Why are we talking about Jimmy Garner? Jimmy Garner's gone. Rashford's come back. I'm surprised we're not going back after Fred. Scholesy. I'm sure Scholesy would put on a pair of boots again. Let's get Scholesy out of retirement. Look, James Garner. Yes, he is a great player. But why aren't we talking about Fernandes types of players? Why aren't we talking about Tonali's and Anderson? For me, this fan base this season has jumped on board the Ineos cheap train, and it's almost like we're just walking into a disaster. Romero's too much of a loose cannon. There's 5 or 6 extra points for Spurs next year. Tillemans is a good player, but not grade A. He's a grade A is De Bruyne. Ranjan Nygalan, probably level B. He was brilliant. He was amazing. He was. Garner signed a new contract in April. He was free, but no one wanted him. Interesting. But look, Ineos have got to pull something out of this bag. I'll give you a bit of an update as well. So we spoke about this afternoon as well, by the way. That Andy Mitten is going to have to own this, by the way. So Andy Mitten, who is a mouthpiece of this club, look, I've got to allege it. I'm going to allege it that Andy Mitten basically gets paid from this club. Andy Mitten gets access to this club. Look, a respected journalist, no issue with that. Andy Mitten put out there today one of the worst pieces, probably as bad as Wes Brown's, right? At least with Wes Brown, I don't think Wes Brown's got too much going on upstairs, right? I think Wes Brown hasn't got too much going on, to be fair. So Andy Mitten for me disappointing, and what he put out there today was probably one of the worst pieces of shit I've read for quite some time. And what Andy Mitten did today was probably one of the most on the fence, most just he basically said that Chouameni, he never thought was going to come. Right, he thought the deal was off, and then he basically said, "Well, actually, it could be back on again because I spoke to somebody from Madrid. I got a text saying that the Chouameni deal is on." And then he basically said at the end of it, "I don't think I don't think it's probable to happen." So he starts off with he doesn't think it's going to happen. He goes in the middle with saying that it's going to happen, and then he ends with I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, if that's not fucking spin, I don't know what's been. And I'm getting sick of it. I'm getting so sick and tired of Andy Mitten, all these Baileys, all these old media type of people. These people who get all the limelight on these fan channels, and you know what I'm talking about. Because these fan channels are the old media. They talk about the Glazers being scum, Ineos being scum, Gary Neville being scum, and then they basically get in bed with their 30 pieces of silver because they want access to the club. They want your views and they want your clicks, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this constant media lie clickbait. I want to get in there first crap. Stewie says, I'm 100% with you. The only reason I brought up Ghana is I have a soft spot for players that came through our academy. United should always go for world class. And look, Stewie, mate, I'm not saying that you're wrong. Um, I like those players. Look, I want James Garner. I'd love James Garner to be a world class player. I really, really would do. Look, I would love it. And I get it, Stewie. Like I am with you, right? I really, really like when our youth players do well. So I don't think you're wrong for saying it. I like it, but for me, when these players leave and they go, look, for me, I think we need to move on. Look, if you look at Man City, right? They Man City, if you look at some of the players that they've sold, they sold a Cole Palmer, right? They're not clambering for Cole Palmer back. And that's really my only point in this. So look, it is half time. France 0, Spain 1. France need to up their game. I tell you what, Spain have been comfortable. Spain, one of the things I'll say about Spain so far in the tournament, they started off slow. I don't think they've been particularly great. Spain have grown into the tournament. They always do it. They always grow into the tournaments, and Spain have grown into this one. They've made France look ordinary. And whoever said that Spain is going to win this match, like I take my hat off. That Spain have found this easy. So look, France need a rocket up their arse. Angie says, it's like we all worry that it's our money being spent from our bank account. Oh, wait, we do put money into this club. Exactly. Craig Hope, the Newcastle fella, said Bellingham shouldn't be playing for England. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean. This old media. Look, the old media is, look, it is the Sun, the Daily Star, right? When I was a kid, when I was a lad, when I was a young lad, you used to run down to paper shop. When I was young lad, you used to run down to paper shop and you used to go and get paper. I don't know why I'm trying to sort of that because I was Welsh. So when I was a kid and you used to go to the paper shop, you used to go and get the Sun, and you used to go and look on the back pages. You used to have a little sneaky peek at page 3 as well. The old Sun, you'd go and buy it for the transfer news, but look, you go and have a little sneaky peek at page 3. I'm just saying. It is healthy. It's perfectly healthy to look at page three. Again, I think page three was a liberation. I fully supported page three when I was 12, um, 13 years old. Page three was fantastic. Um, but that was the old sort of media. There was no comeback. People, they would never say a word against them. And then you got the new media, which are fan channels. You got the United stand. They've been around for a long time. You've got those sorts of channels, and now they've become the old media. Clickbait. I think clickbait needs to finish. I think communities. I think you guys on here. I think the reason why this channel has grown is because I think people are sick of the clickbait. I think people are sick of this whole um, false news. I think people are sick of you're being told what to think and what to say. You're sick of being told that the host's opinion is the be all and the end all. It's not. And the new media has become the old. And look, I'm hoping that there are people younger than me now that are going to come through, and they're going to be the new media. They're going to be the guys that challenge the United stand. They're going to be the guys, that bring the realism into football again. Um, so let's talk about this. Roland 2028, Omar Barada, and the vision of us winning the league. If the hierarchy actually believe this, we would be signing the current incoming European income, or this club is a target. Exactly. Look, if we don't qualify for Champions League next season, forget it. If we don't qualify for Champions League the next season, forget about it. We've got to qualify for the Champions League every single season for the next 10 years. We've got to. This is very simple. You control the midfield and you fully control the game. Rodri has been the best player on the pitch by miles. Ruiz has been a star for me. Look, Spain. Rodri, look, is Rodri coming back to his best? Is Rodri coming back to his best at the right time? Ruiz is a fantastic player, by the way. Look, Spain are controlling the game. And look, you're right. If you look at all of the best teams in the world and you look at what they do, if you look at a Man City, De Bruyne, De Bruyne controlled the midfield. Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, those sorts of players. You look at an Arsenal this season, again, if you look at the Arsenal midfield this season, Declan Rice, fantastic player. If you look at a Barcelona, Xavi, Iniesta, a Busquets, if you look at some of the greatest teams of all time, if you look at United, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Michael Carrick, Robbo, again, you do need a full team, but again, to control tempos of games, you do need a midfield that can control the tempo. You need a back four that's a solid back four, but without, as you say, without the tempo control to dictate the pace, to be able to pass through the lines, to be able to hold the ball. When you need somebody to get onto the ball and slow the game down, the midfield tempo, when you need somebody to quickly pass the balls through the line, increase the tempo, keep ball. So look, Spain are very, very good at it, and this is not a good advert for Chu and Maney, by the way. Chu and Maney, is on view here, and I guarantee what you'll get tomorrow is Chouamani is utter crap now in case Spain win. He's awful. I don't think he's awful, but I think that we will definitely get that tomorrow. So look, guys, please get in there. I'm going to drink some water. This room is disgustingly hot, by the way. I need to get some aircon in here because it's absolutely crazy. My arm hair is wet. Um, mm, Ray says, Heard it here first, or hot take: Tielemans will be worth the money. I think he will change the team. Imagine his passes to Bruno or Shesko. I think that's an educated statement. I don't think it's a hot take, and the reason I don't think it is a hot take, we've paid £35 million for Tielemans, right? Unless Tielemans loses a leg, right? Tielemans is going to be value for money, right? He is going to be value for money. I've got no problem in saying that Tielemans is value for money, right? Not a problem in that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't think he changes the game at all. I don't think he does. And the reason why I don't think he does is because it's not only the midfield. Our back four needs work. I think that we will be better in controlling games. I think Tielemans is a very, very good player. But I don't think that Tielemans is going to make that much of a difference in this team. We need a left back, a right back, I'd argue a centre back, a striker, a left winger. Again, look, Ray, I promise you, my friend, I'm not calling your opinion out. Nobody should do that. And Ray, I hope you're right, buddy. I really hope you are 100% right. I'd love you to be right and come on to this channel and say look and say that Jono, you're wrong. You know, say look, you're wrong, Jono. Come back on here. You are wrong, JB. You know, look, and I would love it. Stewie says, Ray, respectfully, that sounds like wishful thinking. Change the team is a tall task. Ray says, wait a minute, I need to record you calling me an educated guest to show my missus. No, but look, Ray. Again, look, I think it is. Look, I don't disagree with you. What you're saying, I think value for money is there. I'm not disputing this deal. It's £7 million a year. Look, £7 million a year is nothing. If Tielemans has one or two good seasons and then breaks his leg, look, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. I'm just not inspired by it. Look, I'm just not inspired. I want us to do well. Look, Omar Barada. This is where I'm at. Okay, and this is not aimed at anybody on here. We have been told by Omar Barada via Andy Mitten again that by 2028, and this annoys the hell out of me, that Moss is in the house. This annoys the crap out of me, that he's using a 150-year anniversary in 2028 to spin this fan base that we're going to win a league. I think, number one, that is disgusting. I think the fact that Andy Mitten is basically complicit in that and has allowed that opinion to come out, because I would have told him to piss off. That is Tielemans a player that you buy to win a league? It was between 60 and 80, completely different story, says Ray. Is Kone incoming? Look, as the community post as I put out there 2 days ago, look, I was told that United, I really like him. They have entered negotiations or pre-negotiations. It's whether or not they take that 45 million, maybe plus 5. We'll see. Tielemans without legs next to him is a dangerous liability in our midfield. No Inanna or McGinn, similar to Kobe. What is Tielemans' best position? 6 or 8? Maybe a hybrid. I think he's a bit of a hybrid. I don't think he's pacey, by the way. I think he's slow. I don't think he's quick enough. I don't think he is. Look, you get what you pay for. In this life, you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. Watch your Tielemans player cam, said Ray. Tielemans should be a squad depth player, not a starter. Agree with that. I don't mind him as a squad player. Andrew says, how many people do you think are hitting the store getting Tielemans on their on their back? Borderline zero. Well, you never know. You never know. You know, they might be getting Tielemans. You don't know. They're not though, are they? Benja is in the house. Tielemans over. Belabor United fans are going backwards. Oh, Benja, leave us alone, Benja. Benja, leave us alone. Look at him. Benja comes on this channel with his Premier League and takes the mickey out of us. Benja, behave yourself. He comes on this channel, Benja, the American French guy, comes on this channel with his Premier League title. You know, gonna sign good players. And you know, leave us alone, Benja. Leave us alone, mate. As an Arsenal fan, please go get Tielemans. Shut up, Benja. You're mean, Benja. You're mean. Like Benja. I hope you choke on the Premier League. I'm kidding, mate. Jordan the Magpie says, Oi, legend. Jordan is in the house, legend of this channel, and I need to stop the bloody timer. I always forget the time. I'm too busy bloody talking. I'm too busy talking, as always. Too busy chatting away. Too busy talking, as I always am. Let's do this. 45 minutes, save the changes. France have got to come out. I can't see how the midfield won't be dogged and run over when we face opposition much stronger. We overachieved last season with Bruno and overachieving with Casemiro. Solid back end. Look, Declan. I said the same thing, mate. Look, I think we glitched last season. You know, the one thing that I can't do on this channel is I can't lie. Because everything I say is on camera. I've made videos wise now. I've made over 700 videos. And look, I can't lie. Andrew says, get rid of the Sky Sports. Get rid of the Sky Sports bar. Hold up. Hold up a second. There you go. There you go. Look. There you go. If anything, look, I am only fair. There you go. It's gone. It's gone. The bar's gone. The bar has gone. Let's put the score up there, make it a bit bigger. There you go. Just for Andrew, who's requested it. The ticker is gone. The ticker is gone. Ben just says, no, official matchday Mike says, hello JB, might recognise, just wanted to check in. I'm doing all right during this tough time. I remember you, buddy. Look, I do. Official matchday Mike, I hope you are doing well, my friend. And look, please do check in. Please do, mate. Look, this is your home. This is your home, buddy. Like, feel free to come here. You know, look, I think it's really important. And look, you know my feelings. I really hope that you're okay. Look, mate, it is absolutely horrific what's happened to you, buddy. And look, you know, love on this channel, my friend. So look, please, if you are suffering, look, always feel free to reach out to the channel, mate. Look, you've always got a friend here. So, you know, look, please, if you are struggling, or look, or even look, it doesn't have to be match day Mike. Look, if anybody struggles, you know, look, you've got to talk about it. So look, I think it's really important that you talk about stuff. Look, you've got to talk about your feelings. You know, you can't not talk about your feelings, right? And look, match day Mike, mate, you know, you got to talk about your feelings, buddy. You know, look, as men, you know, it's always we can't talk about our feelings. Let's talk about football. We can't talk about our feelings. But look, it's important. It is important. Sully says, evening, JB. Sully the legend. France have not turned up. Turkey and Kone need to come on. Elise hasn't got the killer pass. I don't know what's going on with him. Elise, I mean, apparently Bayern Munich won 150 million quid for him. Go whistle for that. Although I'm a rival supporter, I've always been a big fan of JB. Love the work and keep going. Thank you, buddy. And look, you know, you're always welcome on this channel, my mate. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. So look, we have kicked off again. France are going to have to come out here and go some. France are going to have to come out and go some here. See what's going on. If there's anything going on in the world outside of the World Cup. Elise, not in the 10. Get him on the wing. Yes, get him onto the wing. I think get Elise on that wing. Look, France can't go out with a whimper here. Spain are dominating. Spain are having a whale of a time. Spain are loving it. Spain are having a great time. I can see Spain going 2 up. Really can. Mbappe off the left, Dembele centrals, says Sully. Look, they need pace behind. They really do. Ali McCoist, what are you doing? Ali do you know what? I don't mind him. I would much prefer Ali McCoist than Dixon. Lee Dixon, oh my God, he's got to be one of the worst commentators on football. I don't mind a little bit of Ali McCoist, laddie. How do you feel about your head coach? Can't remember how to spell his name. Yes. Areola. What you doing, Ali McCoist? What you doing, lad? Get me the iron brew. Get me the iron brew. And guys, do not forget to give the video a like as well. Please, please, please give the video a like. It really does help the channel out. Feels like Scotland have been out of the World Cup feels like Scotland have been out of the World Cup. Yes, they have. They have been out for quite some time. I'm here now. What are you talking about? I'm here now. Turkey is the only one that can give Rodri trouble in his pockets. Well, Rodri knows him, doesn't he? So, oh, Lee Dixon. Oh, Lee. Oh, Lee Dixon. Sorry, that was yeah. I did sort of wonder whether or not that you could spell Michael Carrick. Andrew says Lee Dixon on match of the day. Who do you think will win? The team that scores the most goals. That's our BBC. Hilarious. Lee Dixon. He is. Lee Dixon is an ultra biased Arsenal fan. He protests. He protests to be a an unbiased guy, but he's not. He's so biased. It's untrue. The moment he sees an Arsenal player, he's like he's the best player in the entire world. So Due can get a goal. Why not the best dribbler on the team? Spain just find that Shearer has been dreadful. I think Alan Shearer's bored. I think Alan Shearer just. I mean, what's Alan Shearer now? 60? Yeah. They're no Motson, are they? They're no they're no Clive Tilsley. They're no Motson. Aye, laddie. Scotland, Ali McCoy. Now he was a good player. McCoist was a great player. I like McCoist. A duo or Turkey in the 10 will give Spain so many issues. Elise more effective on the wing. No, I agree with you. I think if you look at the way that Elise plays for Bayern Munich, play him in his position for God's sake. Talking of pundits, Rooney is getting better. I like Rooney. Um, I do like Rooney. I think Rooney, as you say, look, I think Rooney is a very intelligent guy. Actually, um, Rio Ferdinand, I think he's probably one of the worst. And when I say Rio as a commentator, I mean Rio as a podcaster. I think he's terrible. I think he's awful. Gary Neville rips down English flags and calls his own people out. And Andy Grace says it's parting comment about and guess the bunt exactly. Not seen Emma Hayes in a while. Do you know what? I really hope that they haven't, that they haven't bowed down to pressure. Like Emma Hayes, I like Emma Hayes. I think it's about time. I didn't agree with the fact that they made her backdrop look like a fucking kitchen. It's ridiculous, absolutely crazy. France can eliminate Cucurella and Porro with Turkey and a Due. Well, Deschamps needs to do something because Spain are just comfortable right now. Spain are just easy. I've got to say, I think that Deschamps looks like the most French man I've ever seen. He looks so French. He really does. They need to get this ball wide. I can't believe Rio associates with that Steve Wholesome fella. Turns me turn off his show. Look, look, it's jobs for the boys. It's jobs for the boys. I like to listen to Emma Hayes. Yes, she is. I like Emma Hayes. I think it's always worth listening to Emma Hayes, she seems like she's very, very intelligent. I think they underused her. I think they underused her. I really do. I think she's very articulate. I think she knows her stuff. I mean, she was a coach. Um, I think they just made Emma's feet smaller so she can look closer to the sink. Uh, I mean, it was just ridiculous. I think Emma Hayes. I like her actually. So Due will score. They've got to do something here. They've got to do something. Spain I'm loving it. Look, they're playing into Spain's hands here. Spain are comfortable. This is Spanish football. You keep the ball. You play in the tight spaces. They're able to move the ball around like it's nothing. It's so easy for Spain. So easy. It's not great, is it? That's not great. Yeah, I side on there, lads. Due, go on, Due. Big talented fan. Here he is, Due. There he is. Tapas, tapas, tapas and mover. Dork Knight says tapas and move. I call it. It is tapas and move. Are Spain France's kryptonite? Yeah, I think they are because Spain are just they counteract the counter attack. They counteract space. You can only do so much with the ball. They're so comfortable. They're so comfortable. They just make them look ordinary. They really do. Ordinary. Ordinary Spain. Sorry, ordinary France. 2-0. Yeah, it's done and dusted. It's all done. Brilliant. So, so good. Great. Brilliant. So good. It's just too easy for Spain. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy. Far, far too easy. Too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. Too easy. Too easy. Look, Spain. Spain grow into tournaments. They always do, and that is what they've done here. Look, France just haven't had the ball. The game plan's brilliant. The game plan is excellent from Spain. How you counter attack is you don't give them the ball. You don't give them spaces. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So good. So good. So good. A lot of people would have lost money on France. I mean, I would have lost money on France. I would have lost money on France. I'm not going to lie. Um, MD of the day, ball moves quicker than the best attacker in the world. Poor tactical setup from France. Agree with you. Unless you back Conor McGregor. I mean, didn't he basically go for like a jump kick and he busted his knee? I think the problem with Dixon and Shearer is that they have dry humor that doesn't land. Yeah, yeah. I think Dixon though. I think Dixon is just. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not his biggest fan. Um, there's still 3-0. Ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous. France have just been absolutely battered, outplayed, outfought. Just Spain. I mean, who's gonna beat Spain? Um, just brilliant. So so good. So so good. Oh, was he offside? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Offside. I said to my friends, Spain needs 40% possession to nullify France. Well, you got that one right. Unlucky. We don't need a score update from the chat. We are watching, says Sully. Yeah, I always forget it. I always forget it. I always forget it. Thank you. Thank you. I always forget it. 19. Lamine Yamal, 19 years old. Ridiculous. Wow. What a finish, though. What a finish. Wow. 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 19 years old. Ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. I don't think France come back from this. Wow, wow, wow. So look, if England get through, look, I mean, how would you fancy your chances against this Spanish side? It's crazy. France to win, said John McQueen. Look, I normally put the the jinx on a game. So I mean, I thought France were going to breeze this. To be fair, what do I know? What do I know? Easy, easy peasy for Spain all day long, all day long. In the words of Lionel Richie, all night long, all night long. It's just not even close, is it? Spain versus Argentina final. I don't know. I don't know. Spain too strong for whoever they get in the final. Yeah. I was more scared of France pace. Spain are technically better than anyone. Spain could do this or not. Spain are having the time of their life. You know, this is men against boys. You know, you've got Spain, and Spain have grown into the tournament. Spain fans will be dancing on the ceiling. What a feeling! I think their wives could be once, twice, three times a lady. You know, I bet their wives are happy. Another World Cup for Messi, possibly. Would have guessed Argentina is the most hated after all the smoke. Argentina, I mean, yeah, those their fans have been yeah, their fans have been cursed, haven't they? Rodri is a martyr. Rodri is a great player, isn't he? Rodri is he's a classy player, isn't he? He really is. He really is. I'm slightly worried Yamal v Messi could be the story now. Look, it could be. You know, look. Let's stranger things have happened. You know, let's see if England can get through first. Chouamani, go on, son. Go on, Chua. Go on, Chouamani. Xavi must be loving this. Xavi must be Infantino. What a prick. Are Spain the PSG of the international scene? Rodri has won the game for Spain. Rodri's been brilliant, hasn't he? You know, he is a fantastic player. Fantastic player. Are Spain the PSG of the international stage? I just Spain are just this. They just they're able to produce team after team after team, and I think it's just the way they play. You know, they don't play tiki taka. They play I think a version of it. I think they've evolved it, and it's just really easy for them. The whole world supported England against against Messi, just against Pessy. Just want to avoid a third and fourth playoff. Yeah. If France can score now, I think it will be a very, very interesting final 20 odd minutes. France just tactically didn't set up in the right way to counter. It should have been Mbappe and Dembele left, and one more midfielder. Sully, yeah, I think Deschamps has got this all wrong. Rodri is the key to the Spain team. No, Rodri is a brilliant player, isn't he? Like he is a fantastic player. I remember watching Italy v England in 1990. It was dire. I remember watching it as well. Actually, um, I do remember watching that game as well. It was awful. Um, yeah, I actually met Paul Parker. I actually met Paul Parker. I think Paul Parker played in that Italian 90, didn't he? I met I had quite a good conversation with Paul Parker actually. I met Paul Parker a week ago. I met him last week, um, and was having a good chat to Paul Parker. Um, Fantastic player. Egypt should be going against the lads. Spain midfield has a chokehold on the game. France not scoring today. The midfield is bad. Rabiot and Chu and Mania are a bad pairing. Yeah, I think Rabiot, this could be his last tournament, and should be his last tournament, really. I think Paul Park had the ball stuck against him and went past Peter Shilton versus Germany. When I saw the lineups, it was either Spain control or France counter attack. Um, yeah, yeah, he did. Um, yeah, he did. But Paul Parker, you know, he's a nice guy, by the way. You know, I had a good half an hour chat with him. You know, he was with his grandchild. Like his grandchild goes to the same school as my kids. Um, so I had a good chat with him. Um, and I had a beer with him. I actually had a beer with Paul Parker, which was really cool. When I saw the lineups done that one, to be fair to Trevor, it hasn't improved since he went off at half time. I would rather play Spain than France if we get to the finals. Now I see Fabian Ruiz starting while Pedri is on the bench. Rest of the game is going to be multimillionaires diving around all over the field. Well, look, that is what they do. Look, that is what football players do. Um, they do. England needs to be great on the wings to beat both Argentina and Spain. Well, let's see. Look, let's see if England can beat Argentina. Look, I think let's take it game by game. You know, I think we've got to take it game by game. You know, England I think have an opportunity. I do. You know, when people saw that England squad, you know, people didn't really give them a chance. Bellingham has to stay fit. Harry Kane has to stay fit. I worry England's back four. I don't think England's back four is very good at all. I'm sorry, I don't think it is. I just don't think their back four is great. But look, the hydration break, the American advert break. Spain is the easiest matchup for Argentina than France. I think France will overrun Argentina. Bex is there. Good old Bex is having a good old chat. Cherky's coming on. Cherky. Jerky. Resold or Chook. Don't know what you mean by that. They've got to gamble. With Spain, if you put bodies in the midfield and eliminate Cucurella and Porro, then you've got a chance. They should have took Harry Maguire. He would have been perfect for the next two games. I've got to say this. Look, I don't understand why they took Henderson. Henderson has been a waste of effing time. If you want to take somebody for experience, Harry Maguire probably should have gone. Why take Henderson? Henderson has been a waste of time. Henderson has been a waste of time. England Spain is going to be something else. One for the books for sure. Needless to say, it will be witnessing history. Turkey is fearless. A Maverick, he will try everything. He might change the game. Well, let's see. Look, it's going to be an interesting 18 minutes. Can France turn this around? Look, Biron, don't worry about the typos. Don't worry about the typos, my friend. Do not be concerned about those at all, buddy. I kind of can read between the lines, so it's good. France have shamed. France have shamed the nation. Parlez-vous en français? I'm sure L'Equipe tomorrow will be scoring these players nil point. Je m'appelle. I can do my best. Only fools and horses. Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle JB. Francais. Parlez-vous? And France team. Football in the net. Poubelle. Yeah. Smash the like button, people. Yes, give the like button a smash. If you want Spain to be smashed, France to be smashed, which they are, give the video a like. I think it's quite scary how confident Yamal is at that age to believe Barcelona will beat Madrid and Spain will be France is frightening. It is. Look, when I was 19, I was working in Pizza Hut. No, I know what you meant. When I was 19, I was working in Pizza Hut. I wasn't playing at a World Cup. I was at Pizza Hut. I was working at Pizza Hut, not at a World Cup. Now, look, I was confident. I was confident on the pizzas. I used to cut up the pizzas. I was confident on that. I would say I was world class. I would probably say if you went into Pizza Hut in Essex, one of the Essex ones, I was world class. I was a world class pizza cutter. Spanish manager has shown his ability today. Now, this Spanish team is great. Easy. All day, every day. Easy. France midfield killed the game. Yeah, agreed. Rabiot and Chu are mainly for me. I mean, as you say, just not quite right. Mm. Yeah, but I bet you had the mentality pizza would sell more than Kentucky Fried Pizza around the corner. Look, I did. I always believed. I always believed in Peter Hutt. I always believed, in ourselves. And I always believed that we could win the battle. You know, there was a rivalry between me and another Peter Cutter, and all I'm saying is I was the better. Um, be standing there, cutting pizzas, equal, just amazing. Um, I think I could still cut a pizza today. I think I could do that. Coney has been helping Rabiot today. It shows. Laporte is shutting out his birth nation. Ballon d'Or. Oh my god, I love it. The Ballon d'Or for you. Oh, Dork Knight, I love it. I love it, mate. Love it. The Ballon d'Or, mate. That is genius. That is chef kiss. That is fantastic. Pedri's coming on. Marino's coming on. Elise in the 10 Rabiot were the mistakes. Yeah. Ruiz has had a great game. Almost had a great game as well. Brilliant game. Fantastic game. They've made France look ordinary. Like nullified. They have nullified the attack of Bacola, Due that's come on, Mbappe, Elise. They've basically nullified France. It's crazy. Yeah, Marino has come on. Is he going to score? He always scores. He always scores. Ruiz, Elmo, and Rodri. I'm from Malaga. We finally made it back to La Liga after 8 long years. How can we compete against the teams of Barcelona, Madrid, or Atletico? Biron, Malaga. I remember Malaga having a really, really, really good side. We finally made it back to La Liga after eight long years. Well, congratulations, Biron, to you guys. I hope you have a good season. Just realised we never got the finalissimo, did we? He was meant to be Spain and Argentina. Uh, Arazabal always scores. Olmo is a great player. No, he is. I think he's a very, very underrated player as well. I do. I think he's a fantastic player. See what's going on. Let's see if Fabrizio Romano. Let's see if Fabrizio Romano has posted. Beer on Malaga is beautiful. I've got a scarf from a holiday. Yeah, nothing going on really. Nothing going on. This has been too easy for Spain. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, as my kids would say. Fabrizio said it's Cone. Fabrizio Romano. Um, all I'm going to say on this one, if you look at my community post, what did I say? Remember Isco, Malaga was a baller. Yes. Yeah, I do. Um, Let's see what Fabrizio is saying. Didn't expect such a one-sided game. No, I was expecting something different as well. I was expecting France to at least put up some sort of fight as well. Let's see what Fabrizio's saying. Do you think the third and fourth round playoff should be taken into consideration for top scorer? It feels flawed. I don't think they should have it. I don't think that they should have. I don't really understand the third and fourth place. Should it be considered for the top scorer? No, I don't think so. Really, to be fair, um, I don't like the third and fourth playoff. I don't. Um, it's time to put the RG Ghost to bed, says Kieran. I don't disagree with you, mate. Just looking to see what old Fabrizio Romano is saying. Um, Teo Hernandez. No French magic there. There is nothing. They just look beaten. They just look beaten. France just look beaten. Simon, he is not happy, is he? He is not happy. He's not happy. He is not a happy boy tonight. Nico Williams. Diabolical from France. L'Equipe tomorrow is not going to be happy. Look at that. Porro's coming off. Spain have been magic today. Spain have been very, very good. Um, brilliant from Spain today. Brilliant. There's no Maradona this time, but something will happen. That's for sure, says Gary. Well, I've got this sneaky feeling that that it's going to be a very, very biased game. I've got this feeling it's going to be a very, very biased game towards Lionel Messi. Um, Look, I'd love England to do one over on the Argentinians, But can you look? Can you imagine if this England team wins a World Cup? Of all the generations of players, you've had the generation of Beckham, Scholesy's, Michael Owen, Alan Shearer, all these legends, and Jed Spence. Imagine Jed Spence lifting a World Cup. Jean-Pierre Papin. Oh, Jean-Pierre Papin. Will get one rating in your local paper tomorrow. Jean-Pierre Papin. Exactly that. If you pin Porro and Cucurella back, only chance you got against Spain. France is going to get desperate, and Spain is going to pick them up. Yamal and Nico Williams. Jean-Pierre Papin. He was a good player. Jean-Pierre. Brilliant player. He was. Absolutely fantastic player, by the way. Delighted, laddie. That's it. Go on. Go on, lad. Go on, lad. Go on, big lad. Oh, wow. Ordinary France. Ordinary is just. They've never looked in it. Thought you don't like the World Cup. What sort of football fan doesn't like the World Cup? I mean, I'm not bothered by the World Cup. Um, I don't mind the World Cup. Like, but again, like the World Cups to me, this particular World Cup, I don't think it's been great. I don't like. I loved Italian '90. I loved America '94. I love France '98. You know, I even liked South Korea, Germany, South Africa. I haven't liked the last two World Cups. You know, I haven't liked the last World Cups. I'm sorry, I haven't. Um, Jim Smith, look, if you're looking for a reason to like have a look, Jim Smith, I don't really give a fuck, really, what you think. It's my opinion. I think this World Cup hasn't been good. I think Dubai wasn't great. And now look, I'm from an era where Italian 90, US 94, France 98, absolutely pisses, absolutely pisses all over this World Cup. This World Cup hasn't been great at all. I'm sorry. Look, Jim, you can wax lyrical about this World Cup. You can tell me that this World Cup has been the best World Cup ever. You've loved this World Cup. This World Cup has been so amazing, and I'm so terrible. What sort of fan am I? What sort of fan am I because I'm not going? This World Cup has been brilliant. Qatar was the best World Cup ever. USA 2026 is the best World Cup ever. Oh my God, I'm going to jizz in my pants. Nah, nah. It does matter. It does matter, Jim. Look, I have seen some amazing World Cups. This isn't the pinnacle of football for me. I'm sorry. I think the Champions League is better than the World Cup. I'm sorry. I don't think this has been a good World Cup. I've enjoyed games. I just haven't enjoyed this World Cup. Look, games have been played at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And Jim Smith, if you think that this is the pinnacle of football, that's up to you, buddy. That's up to you. The World Cup used to be the pinnacle of football. I don't think, for me, this has been good. Look, Jim Smith, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care. If you think Cape Verde is an amazing team and you think this is the pinnacle of football, good for you. This World Cup doesn't compare to Italian 90. This doesn't compare to USA 94. It doesn't compare to France 98. It doesn't. It doesn't. It really doesn't. So, you know, that's your view, Jim. That's your view. That's your view. And I don't care. I think I've enjoyed this as I work 9 to 6, so I've something to look forward to all night. And again, look, those of you who don't share my opinion, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean that Jim is wrong, by the way. Look, Jim doesn't want me to have an opinion because I don't agree with Jim. And Jim is a very, very narrow-minded to just basically say that your opinion is right and mine is wrong, Jim. Um, I don't care, really. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. But again, look, those of you who love living in the past, Jim, you're thick. Jim, look. I honestly, I generally respect opinions on this channel, but you're having a pop at me personally now, right, Jim? I don't care. I don't care. 98, 2002 was even better than this. France 98, Italian 90. I don't care, mate. I can live in the past. If I want to wear a shell suit and I want to play the PlayStation, right? The PlayStation 1, a Mega Drive, and I want to tell you that the 90s was great. Look, mate, you're telling me, Jim, you're telling me my opinion is wrong. That's personal, Jim. You're telling me my opinion is wrong. You're telling me sensitive much. Oh, Jim, Jim, it's really easy, buddy. Jim, it's really easy, mate. It's really look, Jim. Do you know what I love, Jim, about people like you and comments? Is you want to force your opinion on people, and your get out of jail clause is, oh, you're triggered, oh, you're sensitive, oh, you're such a sensitive soul. Um, Jim, I'm just giving you my view, mate. Which it is objectively wrong, Jim. It's not, mate. But again, I love it. I love, I love views because look, your opinion. This channel is about giving people their opinions, and you've come on here and you're telling me that my opinion is wrong. It's not objectively wrong. What are you talking about? Objectively wrong for? You're just trying to use words. It's not objectively wrong. My opinion is my opinion. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's my own opinion. I'm not a fan of this World Cup. It's literally like me saying I love Pepsi and you're saying that Coke is better. Um, you know, ridiculous. Jim says this is the best World Cup since '98. I mean, look, Jim, if that's your view, Jim, I'm not saying you're look, Jim. If you think that this is the best World Cup ever, I'm really not bothered. I'm not bothered. But you seem to have come on this channel tonight with an agenda to tell me that I'm wrong. I don't really know what to say to you. You know, Jim Smith was at Derby, but I think Jim Smith did work for Fergie as well. He did. I like Jim Smith actually. To be fair, he was a good old fashioned coach. Um, but it is just life, Jim. Look, Jim, mate, I'm not bothered, buddy. I'm just look, Jim. I'm just responding to your comments. And I won't even think about it. Once we finish this conversation, Jim, I won't even think about it again, mate. You know, look again. I respect people's views and opinions, and if you think I'm wrong, then you know, what is your criteria for which World Cup is better? So look, I'll tell you why I think is better. Um, because look, I think a World Cup I think a World Cup for me has to be the true pinnacle of players, right? I think this World Cup is too long. For starters, I do. Like people may like loads and loads of football. Um, Look, there have been so many games for me in this World Cup that are just it's just about money, right? If you look at Italia 90, if you look at every team that qualified, like Cameroon, right? They had a really good side. If you look at some of these sides, um, Iran, if look for me, it's look, I'm not trashing a World Cup. Oh, Jimmy's funny here. Look, I don't like this World Cup. There are too many teams for me. So I am a treacherous person because I'm trashing a World Cup. I'm just saying that this World Cup for me is too long. It's just not great. Money, where's the Championship League about? What? Jim, mate, I really don't know what has yanked your chain tonight, Jim. I really don't know. Look, the World Cup is all about corruption. It's all about lining people's pockets, mate. Look, Jim. I'm not gonna lie, mate. I am bored now. I am bored. Look, you've got an agenda, Jim. And that's your view. It doesn't bother me, buddy. It really doesn't bother me. Um, yeah, but we're not talking about Champions League, are we? Look, I I prefer the Champions League, right? But the Champions League, but we're not talking about Champions League. We're talking about the World Cup. Um, I am not a fan of this World Cup. That's it, mate. That's it. I think France '98 was better. I think USA '94 was better. And if you don't agree with me, Jim, it's fine. Um, Jim, I'm gonna have my opinion. I am not trashing the World Cup, Jim. I think you've got a problem, Jim. Really, mate. I'm telling you that I don't like this World Cup. I am not a fan of this World Cup. I'm not trashing the World Cup. I'm just saying I'm not a fan of this. Um, no, 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 Jim, you're lying. That is not a truth. I said, I prefer the World Cup. I didn't compare the two. Let's be having this straight. I didn't compare the two. I said I prefer the Champions League. I do, and that's it. In the conversation. That's it. That's it. Done. So look, that is Spain. Look, Jim is just an idiot. Jim is just one of these people who thinks his opinion is better than everybody else's, and unless you agree with Jim, then he comes out with some outrageous statements. So, Jim, I really promise you, mate, I really don't care. I really don't care. I really promise you, mate. I don't care. I don't care. So look, France were abysmal. Look, there was absolutely and that was being personal. Look, Jim, I'm bored. Jim, I'm bored. I'm bored of Jim. I'm bored. 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 Done. Dusted. I'm bored of Jim. Um, Look, France were absolutely abysmal from the get-go. Um, Look, this wasn't great by France. This is probably one of the worst. This is the one of the worst France teams that I've ever seen. People can argue the Champions League is better than the World Cup. PSG would probably beat England. And look, guys, I'm not saying I don't like the World Cup. I'm not saying that this. I'm just saying that I've not been the biggest fan of this World Cup. There have been better World Cups, and that's just a view. That's simply as a view. But Jim Smith didn't agree with me, and he was a bit mean, to be fair. No, I don't care. I really don't care. But look, guys, look, France v Spain. I honestly thought. Stewie says you didn't like the 48 team World Cup. I initially thought the 16 added teams would dilute the competition, but we have seen a really good group stage games. The smaller nations have been very competitive. Now, I have liked that side of it. I've liked there have been certain teams, but look, they're talking about a 64 team World Cup. It's too much. I think it's too much. I really do. Look, I like the fact that some of the smaller nations have done well. I think for that, I think it's been very good. But for me, again, I've just it's just been uninspiring to me. Look, if this is people's first World Cup, if this is their second World Cup, if people think this World Cup has been amazing, I just think it's a very forgettable World Cup. I do, and that's my view. But look, people are entitled to their views. But look, guys, on that note, look, thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting on the video. Unless your name is Jim Smith, you're a bit of a prat, but look, that's up to you. And look, guys, thank you for watching. Look, I know some of you have been here. This is your second time today. And look, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate the comments. Look, we don't always have to agree, but the one thing I will say on this channel, and I will always, always, always promote your views. Look, as long as your views and opinions, are not, based on, look, people are going to be very staunch in their views. I get that. I've got no problem with that. But when it borders on just telling somebody that they're wrong without having a coherent argument, it's stupid. It's supposed to be an elite competition, best of the best. Too many football games in a calendar year. Look, it is. Look, for me, I've always believed this. I think it should be a slightly smaller World Cup. The 64 team World Cup is absolute anti-football. I hate the idea. And where do we draw the line between football and profit? And I agree with it. Look, I do not want a 64 team World Cup. Let's see where that goes. But look, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the channel as you always do. Look, thank you for the support on this channel. Look, it means so much to me. Look, it never gets old. I never get bored. And look, thank you so much for being on the channel. But look, on that note, 10 o'clock, you've got some time back. Look, please go in, look, go and get a rest. Go and get a rest, not go and get arrested, because that would not be good. And look, guys, thank you for being this. Look, have a good rest of your evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Spain have just tanked France. Spain have just absolutely battered France into submission. Spain in the World Cup. So look, guys, I will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching the channel. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I'll see you legends tomorrow. Take care.